All right, guys, this video is to be taken with a big grain of salt because I know people who have actually jumped in and gotten ready to scale their business because they started doing their first million or their second million, and they thought that they had to go and hire, for example, an operations manager. The whole point of these videos is to give you the behind the scenes, the real look at what entrepreneurship is like. And the reality is, with their operations manager that they started to sign papers with, they didn't realize that it was a hostage or a hostile takeover that was beginning to happen in their company, meaning this operations manager in their company was then going to, through very sneaky contract stuff, actually take the whole company for themselves. So you have to be extremely careful with all of this, because the dark side of it is that you may have somebody come in that you hire to be a finance manager, and that finance manager will do what has been done to companies that I know of, where they come in and they start to make new deals with the customers and they actually siphon off money to themselves. And so, as you're hiring these people, you have to recognize, do they have a reputation? Do they have a code of ethics, morals, conduct, any kind of integrity that they stick to that you can actually track back to any of their history? You have to look at them and you have to say, okay, I want to hire this person for all these big benefits. Is it worth the risk? How are our contracts set up? Are they specific enough that I feel protected and yet they feel like there is opportunity here in the company? So, as you're moving into this, recognize you're signing up with a lot of very experienced people that you may have never met before. So, as we go through this, just keep that in mind. It's an exciting time, but you got to be ready. So, number one, operations manager. Operations managers can be insanely helpful because they can jump in and they can literally make sure that everything in your company is running extremely efficiently. The only problem is sometimes they do it a little too efficiently and you start seeing quality checks. But as long as you have, a quality assurance manager and stuff like that that can work with them, you can make sure that your operations go to the next level, that you're able to produce what you need to produce at the price you need to produce it at, so you can get more cash coming in, so you can actually produce at a better rate and at a better margin. Number two is a sales manager and director. If you guys don't already have one of these and you're at a point where you're like, well, if we're going to grow, we need to get a higher, better one, check them out first, because sometimes with the sales managers, they have the fancy titles and they've had the jobs and they've gotten lucky because they jumped in with a company that already was absolutely killing it and they didn't really do that much to grow the company. Other ones, they're the whole reason that the company grew. So jumping in and checking with their background, checking their track record is going to be a great way to see if they actually have the same fit that you're looking for. I would have them interviewed by your current sales manager and by everybody on the board to make sure that they seem like a fit. And then I would put in markers that they have to hit, goals that you want them to hit, so that they have something to actually reach for. Marketing manager. This one I think is probably one of the most crucial ones. If you guys don't already have somebody who is extremely experienced in blowing up and scaling a marketing side of a company, this is going to be one of your best investments, because marketing can be done nationally, internationally, across tons of platforms to find your target audience. And so if you're actually investing in somebody who knows how to scale it, they're going to know not just how it affects the marketing side of the company, but what adjustments other roles and other departments need to make in order to handle the influx of customers, of leads, of new opportunities. Customer service manager. This one is going to be a game changer. Customer service manager is specifically hired because as you begin to grow and you're experiencing these growing pains, you're going to recognize that scaling also scales a lot of your customer feedback, which is not always positive. And it is great to have somebody in charge of that that understands the kind of things that you're going to hear and the best ways to train your teams to be able to handle all of those problems. And especially with a new company growing, they can give you suggestions about how to shape your operations to make sure that those customers that feel like maybe they didn't get the experience they needed are now being taken care of in an expert, new, grown-up business type way, making sure that they have, not just their product sent back, but maybe product and a refund, or whatever is going to keep the company, now that it's growing into a bigger company, in a great spot where they're not getting any bad PR. Product manager. Product managers are very helpful, and you're going to have many of them depending on your company. But hiring product managers that have specific industry experience are going to be able to continue to help you to innovate and grow and perfect the quality of your product as you're growing. Because as you begin to scale, often your product is going to begin to go down in quality, or things start getting missed and checks aren't getting checked. And so having a product manager that can come in and work with your marketing team to make sure that not only is your product developing the way that they think it should, but as the way that the customer feedback is coming in, so that you can actually deliver the experience in the product and the solution that your audience wants. Finance manager and controller. Finance manager and controller is going to be absolutely essential. Again, be careful, make sure they have a good track record. But a finance manager and a controller are somebody who can come in and make sure that, especially if you've taken on new capital, that it's being distributed in the most effective way to actually grow the company. The finance side of this is crucial because as you're scaling, you're basing it all off of future projections. You're basing it off of what are our numbers looking like we're going to be hitting in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. And having a finance manager is going to make a world of difference to make sure that they see the unforeseen stuff that you don't know is coming because you've never scaled before. Human resources manager. This is enormous. You don't necessarily have to do it. Some people try and do it with just a software. They go to Bamboo HR or whoever. But having a human resources manager that can come in is going to be very helpful, because even though you're trying to hire slow and fire fast, you are going to have a lot more churn because you have greater demand. You have a lot more demand to hire on talent, and it's not always the A plus talent like these would be. These are your A plus guys, but a lot of the doer work in the company is going to be done by lower hires, meaning you need to have somebody who knows how to actually find talent, make sure they're getting in, getting the proper training, the proper sign up, the proper legal. And if you do need to dispatch them and lay them off, they're going to make sure that it happens in the best way possible and that you are legally protected from any kind of silly lawsuits or things like that. They're going to give you your best chance of just having a smooth transaction and getting that person out of there. IT manager and systems admin. This is huge. If you guys are actually planning on growing a bigger company, especially one that is a little more dependent on its IT side, you are going to want to have somebody who is experienced in having and taking care of larger tech and larger software and being the admin on that. Because if your systems now are new systems based on, a larger audience and bigger operations and new softwares, you're going to want to make sure that you have an expert, because you cannot afford, one, privacy information leaks. You can't afford to have a crash where somehow you lose all your orders. And you got to make sure that you have somebody who knows how to reboot, how to make sure that the private information is stored in a secure location, and that they can take care of not just moving all of your current data over to the new system, but also making sure that if you guys have any questions or you need to build out new systems, they know how to adapt and actually connect your systems. It's huge. It's very important to make sure you have someone who actually knows what they're doing. Data analyst. This is one of the coolest things that any company can do, and you can do it at any stage in your company. And I've heard many people who have sold their companies for multiple hundreds of millions tell me that these are the best things ever. And not just one. Most of them say if you're going to hire a data analyst, hire 3 of them at least, because they're all going to come in, they're going to look at every part of your company, and they're going to run all these statistics, all this data analysis, and they're going to be able to tell you how you can shift and change your company to actually improve the output you're looking for. They can improve your sales, they can improve your conversions, they can improve your marketing, they can improve the way you're spending money, the kind of employees that you hire, the trainings that you do. It goes deep. And the reason you want multiple of them is because not only are they going to be specialized in finding different things in your company, but they also should be able to run the similar numbers and come up with similar solutions. And that way, you're getting real good feedback. But data analysts are a great way to pump your numbers up and make sure that as you're growing, you as the visionary and the captain of your company, you actually know what's going on. You can actually see the data and so you can make data-based decisions. Supply chain manager. This is huge. If you guys are doing anything that's based out of another country, if you guys are ordering product from somewhere else, you're going to want to know exactly the channels that you are going to have for all of your supply. Your supply chain is going to be so important as you grow, because the thing is, if you ever have a moment like during COVID where you actually can't take care of the demand or you can't fulfill orders, that leaves space in the market for someone else to get ahead. And you need someone who can, in those moments, find you a solution to get your product to your customer. And even when it's not during a bad time, even if it's just good during good times, you need someone who can help you to maintain and bring on reliable chains of supply. Last one's legal counsel. This one is huge, and we've talked about this a little bit in our other videos. But the biggest thing is, when you are scaling, you're going to be moving into new territories, new states that need different permits, different certifications, different licensings that you don't know about. And more than that, a lot of people like to come after companies that just took on a huge influx of cash and are also making more sales for legal reasons. They love to sue you and try and make money off of you, and that's a great reason to have a good legal counsel that is going to, one, help you to avoid those, because they are industry specific legal counsel that's going to help you to preemptively set up your product and your legal so that you are not at risk for a lot of the risk management that needs to happen. And then more than that, if you do have somebody come after you, you have an expert who can handle it, and you can keep focusing on growing the business. So as you guys are actually jumping into all of this, this is a list again of who I think would be worth looking into hiring for A+ talent to get you going.